Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and this week we are back on the tilting bed of the Frankenhauler, and we have a whole bunch more bits and pieces to do, so I hope you are following. All right, guys, welcome back. And if you were watching last week, I got the hydraulic ram installed on the bed of the Frankenhauler. If you missed it, I'll put a link up above so you can catch up. And like always, do the things, subscribe, comment, all that sort of stuff. It really does help out that crazy algorithm. So where we left off last week, I got the ram installed and we cycled it through, and it's making the exact right angle that I wanted. Everything is working exactly as I wanted. Few little comments that were made. There were a few people who were still concerned about the ram being on an angle. If you look at almost any hydraulic machine, there's quite a lot that actually start at, in this case, if the ram was almost horizontal, as long as it's got a little bit of an up angle, it will follow the path of least resistance and lift it up. At my 45-degree angle where this ram is, people are concerned that it's pushing forward as much as it's pushing up. To break those welds and push that hinge forward, it would probably take at least 30 tons of force to do that. Whereas, yeah, it's 1 ton to lift it up. So it's 30 tons that way, 1 ton up. It's easily going to go lift it up and have no problems at all. I'm not concerned in the slightest. So there were some good points brought up that I shouldn't actually weld these onto the chassis rails. It's better to bolt them all in because of structural issues. There are different types of chassis rails. So some of them, everything is bolted onto. They're like strengthened steel. There is a bunch of different types of steel that can only be bolted onto. As you can see, all the mounts for the mount of the bus were all welded onto the chassis rails after the fact. And either way, I'm not too concerned about the back. The rear, that's all back beyond the rear suspension point. So anything back there, it's not affecting the structure, the straightness of the frame or anything like that. I will probably add some bolts to that anyway. But these bits I've taken on board, and I will actually be bolting these on. So they're just tacked on at the moment. That's totally fine. I will be cutting the tacks off and making up some brackets and bolting this section on. As far as all the rest of this goes, there's still some more triangulating and stuff to do, but I'm very happy with that at the moment. First thing we're going to tackle this week is to try and bleed the air out of this ram.
So first things first is I need to lower the ramp, which takes my body weight to get it to go all the way down, and then I can start removing the ram and bleeding the system. So propping it up, I can unbolt the ram and take it out. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run the hose back into the reservoir itself so that I am making sure there is no air bubbles left in the hose, and that's all bled. And then you can see I'm pouring the fluid directly into the ram on its side and making sure I get rid of all of the air pockets so that it is totally bled. And now we'll try it again.
That's better.
So that goes up much more smoothly, and some suggested that it might self-bleed and get rid of the air bubbles over time, but the issue I have is because it's a single action ram, it only has one hose for pumping the fluid in, and then it just releases a valve and lets it out via gravity. I think there would be air pockets stuck in the top of the ram that are always going to basically float to the top, and it won't actually bleed without doing it this way.
All right, well, that bleeding worked quite well. The ram lifts way better than it did before. Lowering down, it's just, this frame is just still so light for that ram. It really needs to get the rest of the tray and the winch and all the rest of it on there before we can actually see how well it performs, and hopefully it'll come down a little bit faster with some weight on there. Next thing is I made the base frame for the hydraulic pump last week. I'm going to attach it onto this side of the truck here. So we need to make up some end plates and some brackets so that we can bolt this onto the side of the truck.
So I remove the bit of the frame that I made last week, and then we need to make some mounting plates, which I'm using some angle iron here, and these are going to be the bits that I actually bolt onto the side of the existing chassis. Once I'm happy they're all nice and square, I can tack them on and then weld them all solid with the TIG. When I'm on the bench, the TIG is much easier, but on the truck, particularly with the heavier duty stuff, I am using much more of the MIG. And then you can see here I'm drilling out the holes to actually bolt it to the chassis itself. Line it up, clamp it on, and I can mark out the holes and then drill them out. At first I used a regular drill bit, but step drills just work so much better than regular drill bits, particularly for thick steel. They are really a total game changer. Then it's on to designing some gussets. So you can see I'm sort of measuring things here, and there is a couple of mounting bolts on the end of the pump that I'm trying to line up as well. So I'm adding that all into my CAD design, and once I'm happy with that, I can send it over to the plasma table. I love this thing. It saves me so much time and makes my work look so much neater. And yeah, once I'm happy with it, I can tack them on, just make sure it all fits and the ram fits back in again. And I realised that I need to actually cut a couple of slots in the end to get those bolts down, because I can't get everything into place by feeding them through one end, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. But I get through and I can weld these brackets onto either side, and that gives some nice sort of triangle bracing to be able to take the weight of the ram no matter what bumps I bump over in the truck. Give it a bit of a clean up and then a quick coat of my favourite epoxy black. This stuff is great, it's super hard wearing, and while I'm there I'll hit the hinges and other places where I've got some sort of exposed welds that I don't want to start flash rusting. Then I can bolt it all into place and make sure it all actually fits and does what I need it to do.
All right, and we have the ram mounted on. Now it's bolted on underneath, under here, to the ram itself. There are a couple of bolting points, but I don't actually have nuts for that. It looks like it's M6, but it's a coarser thread, so I have to get some nuts and bolt that in there as well, just to add a little bit more rigidity. But this thing is not going anywhere. It's super solid. So that is the ram mounted to the truck. All right, so with the ram mounted on, the next thing I need to do is start thinking about what I'm going to do as far as bolting on this part of the frame. Now, before I do all that, I need to add a stand here to be able to have this to sort of sit onto. So as this goes up and down, obviously at the moment it's just sitting on some bits of wood that I've cut to size so that it's sitting nice and square and straight and even. I need to have some stands. I'm going to have one here. I'm going to have one there. I'll probably have another one in the middle here somewhere as well. Like so. So it's spreading the load along, and this will be locked.
And this is where my mic cut out, but I've got to build some stands to take the load, but most of the load is going to be spread along the length of these tubes. Remembering we are going to have a completely separate tray that sits on top, so let's build some stands. So first things first, I need to cut the bus mounts off of the side of the chassis. So I just carefully cut them through, knock them off and grind down the remaining bits of the welds so that they are all nice and flat, and I can start working out where I'm going to mount my uprights. So marking out and cutting up the uprights out of some 3mm thick 100 by 50mm box section. And then I want to design up in CAD some top plates that the frame can actually come down and sit on top of. Again, doing this in CAD and then cutting it out on the plasma table just makes making all of these little bits so much easier. Then I just put the pieces in the vise and just bend them over to the angles that I want with a hammer, and we can mock them up into place, and you can see these top plates here. Making sure I've got some clean metal to tack to, and once I'm happy I can tack them into place. While I can get to it, I'm welding the top plate onto my upright, and then I can tack the upright to the cross brace. And same again for the other side. And part of it is making sure the spacing is all correct so that I get the heights exactly where I want them.
All right, so we have our first stands on either side. So these are tied into these crossbars that hold on the ram. I've got to build up some end plates to join this all on and bolt it all to the chassis. And I'll probably even put some angle iron bits in here to bolt on down vertically as well. You can see I've got this small taper here. This is only the initial one. Up at the head, I think I'm going to make a taller one that will actually guide it all down and actually lock it in about here, that locks in the front of the frame. And there's also going to be some form of lock that comes down, and I haven't designed it yet, but this is going to lock it in so it's not just sort of sitting on this frame. It will lock it in to stop it from moving forwards and backwards and front to back and everything. It's going to be locked in solid when it comes down. So this is just more of a basic guide. You can see I've got a sheet of rubber in here. These tapered sides are so that I can drill it out and rivet the rubbers down on both sides. You can sort of see it there, that I have the rubber layer. And yeah, I've got enough space to be able to rivet it on so that it'll actually stay there. I am quite happy with that basic concept for the time being. I'll probably also put some gussets this way to hold it in to make it all super strong and solid. So next bit is I'm going to make another couple here, and then later we'll get onto the ones at the front with the actual proper tapered guides to get it to all sit exactly where I want it to sit.
And once again, we're cutting out a couple of the uprights for the reinforcing of this area over the axle. And once I'm happy with the height, I can start getting my mounts, which again, I'm using some angle iron. So cutting out 4 of these, and they will sit either side of my uprights. And conveniently, there's actually already holes in the chassis rails that line up with these spots. So I've marked on my piece of angle and drilled them out, ready to mount.
All right, so the way I've laid this frame out, now obviously there's going to be another flat frame sitting on top of this, so the amount of mounts is sort of not super relevant because all the weight load is going to be spread and blah, blah, blah. But basically, I'm going to have a frame at the front. I've got these ones here, as you can see. I've added these ones here, and then we've got the hinges. Now, the weight of the front axle of a car sitting on the back will sit around that level there. And these hinges are around where the rear axle will sit. So this is sort of a little bit extra in the center. Now, I've cut out these angle iron brackets and lined them up with existing holes in the chassis. So I'm going to use those holes as my bolt holes. I'm going to lift the frame up now and connect all those bolts up, and then we can lower it all down and tack it all into place.
So now the hydraulics work, it's very easy to lift the frame up out of the way, and I'm just making sure the holes have got enough clearance for the bolts I'm using. And the forwardmost holes didn't actually have a side hole in the rail to be able to get a nut in through, so I needed to drill some holes in there to pass the nuts inside the rails. And once I've got the areas all cleaned up and know exactly where I want to put them, I can bolt my brackets all down and get everything in place. But I really want to lower the frame back again to make sure the heights and everything is perfect before we tack it all together. And now it's lined up, I can tack it all into place, as you can see here. Then I want to reinforce it with a crossbar between them, so I clean it up and trying to get it nice and neat and level. I'm actually clamping it to the tilt frame above and tack it all into place. Make sure it's nice and square, and then I can weld it all solid. Definitely getting a lot of MIG practice in these couple of weeks, and yeah, I'm much happier with my MIG welding now. The world-class MIG that I have really makes life easy, as I just dial in the thickness of the material I'm welding and it does the rest.
All right, so we have this bracket all done, and that is looking pretty good. So I'm happy with the middle bracket now. So moving forward, we need to trim these brackets off, and then we need to make the end mounts here and work out exactly how we're going to guide them all in together to guide this ramp into place.
Alright, so the basic principle is pretty much the same with these front rails. It's more how I do the top plates to guide the tilt frame back down into place as it lowers. And at first I was going to cut those little tabs off, and I realised that they're going to be really handy mounts. So I'm just notching out my uprights and cleaning that up, and then I can actually use the original bus mount as one of the mounts of this frame.
All right, so I was just about to cut these mounts off, and then I thought, why am I doing this? These are super solid mounts. That was what the bus was mounted to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount these uprights to these mounts. So by putting an angle piece of angle iron in here with a hole in it, I can bolt that on there, angle iron to here, so I can bolt it down on either side and then cross brace it between. I think that will be a very strong mount, so let's do that.
So now I'm on to designing the top mounts for these uprights, and these are a little bit different, and I've got some reinforcing bars as well. So it's back over to the plasma table, and I can cut out the top plates. And you might notice I actually leave little circles in the corners of my cutouts, and that gives me a guide as to where I need to bend these things. Then it's using the air hammer to knock all the dross off of the back of these pieces. It's quite a handy little tip. And then using the vise, I can bend them all into the shapes I want and make sure they line up with my little reinforcing brackets that I made up for them. Then it's back over to my new favourite tool, the cold cut saw, to cut off these angle iron mounts for the uprights. And there's 6 of these because there's 3 on each side. I definitely like to use the drill press where I can to drill these brackets because it's much easier on the drill press than it is with the hand drill. Then I can bolt the outer upright into place and tack everything on so I know where my uprights want to be, and then I can mark out the lower 2, mark them, punch them, and then drill them out, and then I can put the lower 2 angle iron mounts on, and when I'm happy and everything is in place, I can tack them on as well. Then tack on the top mounts, make sure they're in the right spot, and get ready to mount my cross brace.
All right, so the front mounting brackets are now in. So I've welded them on. It's all bolted on in 3 places on either side. It's tied together by a beam in the middle. This is sitting low enough to sit the winch in here. That will have to come later. And you can see I've got these a little bit more elaborate guides. So these ones actually really guide the bar into place, as opposed to these ones are just like a mount. These are a guide, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make these pieces here weld on to the outside and reinforce it so that it's nice and solid, and that will be able to guide that bar back down into place and hold it nice and firm left and right.
So once I have everything else mounted up, I'll probably go back and put some gussets in these cross braces in between the uprights, just to make sure that everything is super solid and it can't twist and move sideways. But you can see here I'm putting on these reinforcing brackets so that when the frame comes back down, it will be guided in nicely by a nice strong mount.
All right, we have the reinforced guide brackets. They are looking really good. So that is all done. So I just want to cycle up and down the ramp a little bit just to see how it looks.
And that frame sits really nicely into those brackets. I'm very happy.
All right, well, that was a productive week, but it might not actually look like I've accomplished a huge amount, but I am very happy with the progress so far. So we have all of the supports for the lower frame of the tilt bed ready to go. So obviously we're going to have the actual bed that's going to hold the vehicles on it on top of that. There are going to be locks. There's lots of things that need to be done. This is not a lock. There are locks that are coming. So this is just a guide just for this lower bed to come down square when we're tilting and lowering. There's a whole bunch more stuff to come, and I'll cover that when we get to it. But I am very happy with the way this is coming together. I think we have a really good, solid, super solid structure. I try and wriggle it, and the whole truck is moving. So I am very happy with the progress so far. But it's definitely all the time I have this week. So I think that means it's time for Fun Facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, in 1963, Ford had gained interest with the Mustang 1 concept, but they knew it was too complicated to put into production. They then began work on the Mustang 2 concept car. Mustang 1's mid-engine layout was out and a more conventional front-engine rear drive layout preferred. They used the existing Ford Falcon platform but created a 2+2 Roadster with a removable fiberglass hardtop. The Mustang 2 carried over the same triple bar taillights and faux side louvers. The interior of the concept car was mainly wooden frame and fiberglass with handmade upholstery. The Mustang 2 made its public debut at the 1963 Watkins Glen Grand Prix and then made its round of the auto shows. The Mustang 2 was actually going to be scrapped, but it was saved by R&D engineers as they needed a test mule. It was eventually donated to the Detroit Historical Society, where it remains to this day. And no doubt we'll be going on a road trip there at some point.
All right, and we have progress. It doesn't look like as much big stuff this week, but it's all these little bits and pieces that I need to do to get it so that it's actually going to function and sit there. I'm very happy with where we are. Next week should be fun. We're doing some bigger things again. We've got to get winches mounted, and I don't know, see how we go. Whether we start making the sliding tray for the top of it, we'll see.
So some engineering.
More and more. The design's been like spinning around in my head for months and months, and it's now a matter of trying to make it reality.
So have you ever wondered what's going on in Jeff's head? He's not
Not
listening
much.
to podcasts, spinning wheels.
Yeah, not a lot. All right, guys.
Okay, like and subscribe, and of course Patreon if you want to help Jeff out and follow the videos, see the videos a day early with no ads. And I believe that is everything.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll see you next week. See you guys.
Hey guys. Mustang 1's conventional mid-engine layout was out, and Mustang 1's mid-engine layout was out. Mustang 1's mid-engine.
There.
Mustang 1's mid-layered. Mustang 1's mid-layered. Mid-engine layout. Mustang 1's mid-engine layout was out, and a more conventional back engine but used the 2+2 Roadster with a removable fiberglass hood.
But built
No,
it as a U2
no,
plus
that's
2
wrong.
roadster.
But used a 2+2.
No.
No. The Mustang 2 carried over the same. The Mustang 2 carried over. The Mustang 2 carried over the same. The same what? Triple bar tail lights. Okay. The Mustang 2 carried over the same triple bar public debut at the 1963
Watkins Glen.
The Mustang. Shush.